Are you ready to be fired up? Because I sure am. I've got Steve Olsher today, and he's going to be blowing your mind with marketing tips and also some mindset tips, I happen to think, as well. So if you're ready to be fired up and learn something new, then stick around because we've got what it is that you need. Hi, Steve. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
In a nutshell, anyway, 30-year entrepreneur. Started out way back when as a DJ and opened up my own nightclub when I was 19. And yeah, that led to a number of different endeavors over the last, decades. I'll just say that. and and the reality is that if it was catalogs and .coms and real estate and running live events and coaching and podcasting and authoring and speakering. I think if it paid a dime at some point over the last however many odd years, it was something that I certainly tried to do. And now I'm really focused in on really helping people leverage the power of podcasts and the power of voice, and really big in the world of podcasting. We publish Podcast Magazine. I'm the founder and editor in chief. And then been really big on Clubhouse in the last 60 days as well.
So you've done so much. Let's focus a little bit about podcasting, and then I'd love to pick your brain too about Clubhouse, because that talk about being a time sucker. People are on that thing for like hours on end. It's just amazing to me. We could talk a little bit about how you're leveraging that and how that's working for you. So podcasting. So, right now we have a lot of real estate agents and entrepreneurs on this call, mostly a lot of real estate agents and lenders. So talk to us about like how a podcast can help them, how they can use it to leverage. Do you think it'll even work for a real estate agent? What's your thoughts? I already know the answer, but you tell me.
I would say that the answer is maybe, right? Because it wouldn't necessarily work for everyone. For a real estate agent who already has a really good influx of leads, and their book and their calendar is full and they're satisfied with where they're at. Doesn't make sense, for somebody who frankly doesn't have, let's just say the biggest personality in the world, and can't really hold anyone's attention, and is not in their sweet spot. It's not in their zone of genius, right? Or whatever you want to call it. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense for them either, right? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a one size fits all solution by any stretch. But I do think for the right person with the right mindset, and with the right just agenda, if you will, going in, where they understand why they're doing this show, and really what it's about and who it's for. It can be a really great solution for elevating their status, for building up their credibility and authority, and certainly for generating highly targeted leads, and ultimately converting those leads into real revenue.
Great. Okay, so when you said if somebody wants highly targeted leads, and so for real estate, so what would a real estate agent talk about on a podcast?
Yeah, like for instance, I'm in San Diego, and one of the things that people love about San Diego, of course, is the ocean and the weather, and there's a lot to love here. So, what an agent could do as it relates to San Diego is, if you wanted to be really specific, and your target market, as an example, was helping people move cross country, you could do something that was either specific to helping people move to San Diego as a show, or do a show that was more specific about moving in general, right? And so the point being, there's so many different things you can do: a local show, a national show. You could even do sort of an oceanfront show where you specifically talk about oceanfront properties. Um, there's just a lot of different ways to go about this. But at the end of the day, in terms of highly targeted leads, if the goal is not to become some sort of national figure, if you will, and your goal is just to pick up another 3 or 4 sales a month in your particular market, then by all means, you want to really try to hone in on what those people are, in terms of what they're listening to, what they gravitate towards, and ask your existing clients some really hard questions, right? And get to the bottom of why they came to you in the first place, and create a show that leverages those strengths as well as the clarity around who it is that you're really most compelled to serve.
Would you like to have 2 days of live coaching directly from me, where we're actually going to go over one strategy that in 2020 brought in 48 seller transactions? Well, you want to go to KristaMashore.com/2dayslive. That's KristaMashore.com/2dayslive. Our next live is actually February 22nd and 23rd. It's only $97 and you get coached directly from me all day long for 2 days straight. So if you're wanting more sellers and you're wanting to learn to utilize video and social media in your business, then show up to our next 2 days live. Go to KristaMashore.com/2dayslive and I will see you there. I feel like, if you were to do something like that, talking about just waterfront homes or whatever it might be, that there wouldn't be enough content. Like, how many things can you talk about waterfront homes? How often? Doesn't it seem like you might run out of topics?
I don't think so. Not by any stretch of the imagination, right? Because there's so many different angles that you can take, even in a niche of just waterfront homes. There might be some people who want to, and I'll just throw out a few examples here. There might be some people who want to actually live there as their primary residence. There might be some people who actually want to just have it as a second home. There might be some people who want to Airbnb out that property. There may be some people who might want to do like a co situation, like a co-ownership situation. And even just if you think about it in terms of oceanfront, like what are the challenges that take place with oceanfront properties? You've got the salt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you think about the denigration of the asset itself in terms of physical damage from the salt, right? Just getting really granular. But the bottom line is if you really sat down and you thought about it, you could easily create 20, 30, 40 episodes before you ever even got to bringing on a single guest.
Wow. Okay. You did that pretty quick, which was pretty nice. Also, you can do things about, the communities, the things to do, local hot
Sure.
spots, places to eat, interview
Absolutely.
professionals, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. There's so many different ways you can spin it, and the reality is, Krista, you don't want to get caught up in the conversation around how many people are downloading and listening to the show. That's not. It's almost irrelevant because when you think about it from the standpoint of, let's just say each show gets 30 downloads. If you've got a really niche specific show, and 30 people are tuning in to listen to that show every time you release it, and albeit sometimes those are going to be 30 different people, different, you know what I'm saying? Just don't get caught up in the numbers, because all of those people, every single one of them is raising their hand to say, I want to hear this episode, right? So it's not like you're just putting something out on social media and they just randomly come across it. With podcasting, it's what they call a pull medium, which means that people are literally pulling that information, pulling that episode by choice. No one is forcing it down their throats. So in other words, the conversion rate of someone who would listen to a show that is very niche specific in terms of oceanfront living in San Diego, turning those people into leads and then ultimately into clients is going to be disproportionately higher than if you just simply did a general real estate show or you just put something out on Facebook.
Okay. So you just kind of gave me an idea. So
Good. What's the idea?
So well, I already kind of had that idea. I didn't think of it with podcasting. So, I have a podcast and I'm creating a book right now with my students. It's basically like horror stories of real estate and like funny stories of real estate. So what I was thinking of doing is bringing on each one of these authors that writes and having them tell their funny real estate story and adding that to my podcast. Do you think that would be good?
Well, do you think that is going to convert the listener into a prospective? What are the odds of taking that approach and converting that listener into a client?
Well, I think that it's just going to help them get to know me a little bit better and give them a laugh for the day. So that's just going to be like bonus sections. So I'll still do my
Right.
regular podcasting, like this is going to go on my podcast, obviously, right?
Yeah.
We're giving them value, but just I'll add it to other aspects. I'll add it to the podcast. So in fact, you're listening to this right now. Let me know, would you like if I was to add real estate horror stories, real estate funnies into the podcast and interviewed realtors from across the country about the funniest thing that's ever happened? Would that be interested to you? And if it is, send me an email to Krista@KristaMashore.com, Krista@KristaMashore.com, and say, Krista, yes, that'd be awesome. And then I'll implement it.
and then let me know, because I'd be real curious to see what the response rate is on that for sure.
What they say. Okay, so Steve, and
Yeah.
you could even reach out to Steve. So, okay, so Steve, tell us a little more about
No,
your
don't
podcast.
reach out to me.
I'll reach out.
Reach out to Krista,
Yeah,
and
reach
then
out to
you
me.
let me know. Yes, please.
I'll let you know. Okay.
Yes.
So, because I think because we're writing a book like that right now, we thought it might be kind of fun to do something. Okay, so podcasting. So you help people. Tell us exactly what you do for people.
I mean, look, right now, the majority of what we do is really just helping to, let's just say, elevate the industry as a whole. Because Podcast Magazine ostensibly does for the world of podcasts what Rolling Stone does for the world of music, right? Like we're all about podcasts and podcast culture in the world of podcasting, and really helping to validate and legitimize the industry as a whole. Kind of take it out of this, closet like industry, if you will, where it's just kind of for hobbyists, and really help to move it into more of the mainstream. Outside of that, I mean, there's a number of things that we do, not the least of which, of course, is, well, launch podcasts for people. So if people need to launch a show or build an online funnel or create an online course or just need help with branding or that sort of thing, at the end of the day, we really help people become icons of influence in their niche so that opportunities find them as opposed to them always having to chase these opportunities.
And through the podcast.
Well, the podcast can be a way to do that, but not all of our clients launch a podcast. So many of our clients decide that their better approach and the approach that they like more is by being a guest on other people's shows. So a lot of our clients just decide, you know what, that's all well and good, but I don't have an interest right now in launching my own show. I just want to be a guest on shows so we can oftentimes and most times connect people with shows that literally have their audience in the palm of their hand.
And then so obviously you charge a fee for that, right? You charge a fee for that. So part of what you offer is getting people on other people's shows.
We are not a podcast booker or a podcast agency. We do know as obviously the publishers of Podcast Magazine, and we've been doing podcast related events where we give people the opportunity to meet top podcasters and pitch them on who they are and what they do and get booked on the spot. So we've got a whole network of top podcasters in our community. We are not a booking agency. There are lots of folks who are booking agencies. We're not one of them.
Gotcha. Okay. Great.
For us, it's all about relationships. Like if you come into our world, Krista, and you decide, hey, can you connect me with this person? I mean, we know lots of people who have real estate podcasts as an example. And so, yeah, I mean, once you're in our world and we understand who you are, if we can make intros, we just make intros.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's talk about monetization now, because you said monetizing a podcast. So can you give the audience so they really understand how they can take a podcast and monetize that podcast? Like what are maybe your top 3 to 5 tips on monetization?
Yeah. And I mean, let me just say that what we're really good at is not necessarily monetizing a podcast specifically, because there are some people who look at a podcast as a business. Where you can take your podcast and you can turn that into revenue. Most people will try to do that through sponsors and advertisers and partners. And I would say about 1/10 of 1%, so 99.9% of all shows will never be able to do that.
Yes.
So about 1/10 of 1% of the existing shows can turn their podcast into a business. What we're really quite good at is helping people leverage the business of podcasting, where a podcast becomes an essential component of their business strategy as a whole. And so ultimately at the end of the day, for us, what we believe and what we teach and what we help people to do is to look at podcasting from the standpoint of it being their core visibility strategy. because every business needs a core visibility strategy, right? Whether or not it's Facebook and Instagram or LinkedIn or speaking gigs or networking events or whatever those things are, every business needs to have a core visibility strategy. What we teach and what we believe in is that podcasting, either as a host or as a guest, and in most cases both, can really do that, right? And so once you appear on shows, there's a strategy for turning. There's lots of strategies for turning visibility into revenue. And so the main question that you want to ask yourself and you just want to be clear on is, if you're going into the world of podcasting, are you doing it to build your visibility and your sort of credibility, if you will? Are you doing it to build your community, or are you doing it to build your bank account? And
Mm-hmm.
as long as you have clarity on why you're launching your show and what your show is about, then and only then will you have the ability to monetize what it is that you're doing. So you'd have to be able to answer a few fundamental, sort of foundational questions first, and then you dive into what are the monetization options that make the most sense.
Okay, so when you say so, but for example, if you're building your community, right? You're building your community, or you're building your visibility. That's all obviously going to build your bank account too, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, it
No.
depends. It depends, right? I mean, it can, and in many cases it does, but it like every business is going to have a different business model, and
Mhm.
every business is going to measure different KPIs. You're going to be measuring your metrics may be different. So for those who want to build a large community, it's not always directly related to revenue. There could be ancillary pieces of the puzzle that really help to drive revenue beyond the number of people in a community. So I don't want to try to dance around this, but I just want you to understand that from our perspective, the two are not necessarily one and the same.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Well, I can tell you, I can absolutely tell you're an expert in this, because it's like there's not really any one solid answer, because it depends upon the context, what the outcome
Yeah.
that somebody's looking for, or,
Yeah.
what exactly they're wanting. So that does make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, a lot of variables for sure. And again, at the end of the day, a podcast can support, I would say, pretty much any initiative and any goal or objective that you put forth for your business, for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, I have a podcast. Obviously, they're listening to it on
Clearly,
right now. Yes, okay, you're on it. So
clearly you
I'm
do.
just, I think that we could be doing better with our podcast. So if somebody already has a podcast and they're like, I want to get more exposure, I want to be able to, get more listeners and get a broader reach.
Here,
What
let's
would
use you as a real example. So
Okay?
what's your biggest struggle right now with your podcast? If
So
you could
we're
snap your fingers and make one thing happen, what would that one goal or objective be for your show?
I think I would like to be able to monetize it a little bit more, because I'm spending all this time, and I don't
So
think
throw a
I'm
number at it.
monetizing
So
it
when you
correctly.
say monetize it more, throw a number at it. Be specific. What does that look like?
I don't know. This is kind of embarrassing, but I'll do it. I don't know. I mean, it would be nice if I could, because we're doing about three shows a week, right?
Hmm.
We get about 25,000 downloads to 30,000 downloads a month.
Hmm.
We've been doing it for about a year and a half, because I launched it so a year and a half. It's not two, yeah, year and a half, I'm pretty sure, year and a half, and maybe it's 2.5 years, I don't even know now. Maybe it's 2.5 years.
Did you launch it in 2019 or
I don't remember.
2000? Yeah, all right,
Everything,
fine.
all the time is going together. Give me a break, Steve. Okay, all the time is going. I think it has been a year and a half.
Who knew that you were going to have a guest on your show and you were going to be harassed?
I
Who
know, I
knew that
know, I
was going to
know.
happen?
It's okay. It's okay. I can handle it. But I feel like, what we do on is, we will, like, for example, I've got a live event coming up on Monday and Tuesday. So we'll have commercials about the live event on there. We do
Sweet.
that. We also use it to do swap casting. So, like, for example, we'll
Still haven't
call.
given me a number.
I don't know. I mean, of course, I'd like to make an extra $50,000 a month from coaching, not from revenue of the podcast, but from like actually getting new coaching clients. That'd be amazing. Actually, 100,000 for as much time as I spend. So extra 100K a month would be great. And that for me, that's realistic in my business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I would also need to know how do I define that came from the podcast? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, okay. So you want to generate another 100 grand in revenue, and specifically that revenue is coaching revenue. So you have a program that you're looking to enroll people in, and you want to use the podcast as a driver of leads for that coaching program.
Yes, exactly. You said it so perfectly.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm pretty good at this. So, so how much is the program?
So it ranges from, we have all different levels, but like for the actual program itself, it's anywhere from $10,000 to $23,000 you pay in full. Can range all the way up to 30,000. But again, we've got a $500 program, a $1,000 program, a free program. But the main coaching firm that I'm scaling is between anywhere from 10,000 to around 30,000.
What's the 80-20 rule here on this? For the main revenue driver, 80% of your coaching revenue comes from which offer?
They come from my 2-day live event. And so like last year we enrolled 70 students, and the main driver was my 2-day event. So basically we have a free challenge.
Into which offer?
So the average price point that we bring in is 17,800. So if you combine the two, right? So my $23,000 offer is my from the live event is the most profitable.
Got it. No, that's perfect. So if you wanted to add another $100,000 a month, you're talking about just enrolling 5 people.
Yep.
Okay. And so run it down in terms of when you're at the top of the funnel, and in this case is the people who listen to the show as an example, right? How many people, if you had 100 people who came into an environment with you, like a live event, what's your average conversion rate from that 100 people in the room into that particular program?
Ooh, that's a great question. So it's actually pretty high. So we're like at a 24 to 33%, closer to 27% ish range.
Yeah, which is excellent. So so let's just play it out and give you the benefit of the doubt that it's 30%, right? So let's just use easy round numbers here, or 25%. Yeah, do 25%. So easy. So what you're talking about, and then I would assume that your conversion rate is probably pretty consistent if you can get someone on the phone, right? And in terms of actually having a conversation, or is that much lower because obviously when you have a live event, you have much more time with them and they know you.
Yeah, much better at a live event. Live event, like they want to sell their children to be able to work with me after the live event, literally.
And some of them probably do.
Yes.
And so, okay, so the goal is really to use the podcast to get people to the live event.
Yes, exactly. Yep, that is what it is.
Yeah. So how often do you do your live event?
Once a month I do a live event. Before that, so once a month I do a 5-day free challenge, and that then when they do the free challenge, we sell them into the $97 2-day live event, and then the live events where we make our high ticket offer.
Yeah,
that's once a month.
Yeah, that's really good. And so that formula for you guys is working obviously very well. So that's so as you look at then your podcast, you're doing 3 episodes a week. So you're doing 12 episodes a month, just using round numbers here. Do you have the ability, and do you track how many people come directly from the podcast now into your live events?
I'm not.
Or do you send them to the challenge first?
Yeah, so we do both.
Correct.
So we do both. So the 2 weeks before the live event, we're focusing on the live event commercial. 2 weeks before, but you know what we're not doing? And this is, I mean, shame on me because I teach it. I know this. I don't have a different funnel for the podcast, like a podcast link. So I know directly how many people are coming in from the podcast. And that's what I need to change.
Yeah. And that would be a great place to start for sure. So number one, that would be a great way to know, because you may actually already be making 100 grand a month from your show. I mean, come on, if you just put, and you don't even know it, right? So if you just had 70 people enroll, you said 70 people enroll at your last event? How many? 70 people?
70. Last, but in January we had 70 people, yeah.
So if you're doing this once a month and in January you had 70 people enroll, you could already very well be making 100 grand from your podcast. So I would start there, right?
Yeah.
And then of your episodes, how often in your episodes are you bringing on someone who has gone through your program and they are a success story that you can share? Because I'm sure you do a success panel at your live event, right?
Yeah, we do success panel. I don't do it enough on my I haven't done it in a long time actually. So that's something I absolutely need to do. I should probably
Yeah.
be doing that, maybe a bonus session like once a week or once every 2 weeks,
One out of every three episodes at the very least. If you're doing it three
Really?
times a week, absolutely.
You don't think that's
Because
too much?
people Mm-mm. Because every person that you bring on is going to have a different story, right? And you want to talk about who they are and where they came from and how you changed their lives. And so is your community primarily women?
It's funny. It used to be like my avatar, but now it's probably, it used to be like 99-1. Like it was like
Hmm.
all women. Now it's about 60-40, about 60%
Okay.
women, 40% men. So it's definitely both
Yeah. Great. So then that's even better because now you can have a mix of voices. And as you mix up the shows, you're going to have a lot of different stories. The stories of your male men success stories, their backgrounds, their histories, and what they're doing now and how they do it is going to take a little bit of a different, I mean, it's going to be a massively different path than your women. So you could mix it up. I mean, even if you did it, so if you had two men on per month and two women on per month, so once a week, right? So again, you got three shows a week. So
Yeah.
one week you would have, so you got 12 shows. So if you did four of those shows once a week, you'd have two women and two men. And what I would really do is I would focus in on their journey and talk about where they were, what was their life like before they came into your world, what's their life like now that they're in your world, and what would they say to themselves now looking back on it before making that decision to come into your world, right? So give them that opportunity to really lay it out and then of course share their story of who they are and why they came into your world to begin with.
Are you wanting a kickstart on your business and you want to learn how to be the go-to professional in your industry? Well, guess what? I've got a challenge for you. It's 5 days of coaching. It's brand new. Just go to KristaMashore.com/client conversion. That's KristaMashore.com/client conversion. And you'll get a training with me for 5 straight days that's going to help kickstart you as the go-to professional in your industry. So sign up and I'll see you there.
And if you
What they're
couple
doing
that,
and how it's working and all that. Yeah.
yep.
That's a
And if
great
you
advice. I did that when I think it has been 2 years, by the way, 2.5. So, because I'm trying to think, I think we almost have over almost 300 episodes. So I'm pretty sure it's been probably
Yeah.
almost 2 years.
And
But
if you couple that with taking someone who is not in your program but is struggling and could benefit from your help, and then in the same way that I'm helping you right now. So for the people who are listening right now, like if you would like me to walk you through this exact process, just email Krista. I don't want this. I'll just email Krista and say,
you can email,
I
you can
want
put your email. It's okay, Steve.
no,
You
I don't
can
want
do
to.
yours.
But the point is here that if you think I'm being helpful to Krista, email Krista and let her know. Because then perhaps I can help you do that too. And if you'd like me to help you, if you want me to help you do exactly what I'm doing here for Krista, for you and your business, email Krista and let her know. I don't want any of those leads. I don't want to do that. But the point being, like, that can be your call to action, right? So you can literally take someone through the same process. So the other four shows, so now again, at least once a week, you're taking someone through a process of helping to solve a very specific problem and really helping them to solve that problem, right? And then at the end, your call to action is, look, this is my bread and butter. Like this is what I do. If you want some of this, you need to be at my live event, or you need to be in my 5-day challenge, or you need to do X, Y, or Z. And here's how you sign up, and you can get more of me in this way. And you'll find that then the combination of you're doing the individual episodes where you're just talking about whatever you're doing, like bringing somebody like me on once a week. And then once a week, you're doing the let me help you and solve your problem, someone who's not in your program. And then once a week, you're doing it for somebody who has gone through your program and you're sharing those and they'll share it too, right? Because now you're spotlighting your clients and they're going to share that through their social and through everybody else and be
Yes,
like,
yes.
hey, I was on Krista's show. You guys got to check this out, this, that, and the other. And then it's just going to snowball from there. You're welcome. I'll see you later.
I love the idea, Steve, about having somebody on there and just helping them and answering their questions. Like, that is brilliant. I wouldn't have thought to do that. Just like people
There you
can
go.
register and apply, and they can be on there, and they can have a, you know, a 15 or 30-minute session with me where I just help them.
You got it.
Yeah, that is smart. So smart. I'm going to do that. So if you would like to be interviewed and you'd like me to help solve one of your problems, just email Krista at KristaMashore.com and say, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast and I want you to interview me, and I'll help you however you can. Great idea. Great idea.
So you need an application form, and on
Yes.
the application form, you're going to want to have clarity around where they are, what is their dream, like where do they want to take things, where do they want to go, and what is the single biggest problem they're facing right now that you want Krista to solve.
Okay, so walk me through. I'm gonna literally have my team create this. So they need to be like where they're at in their business right now, where they want to be at their business, and what's the one single problem that they have.
The biggest problem that will prevent them from attaining that particular goal or bringing that dream to fruition.
Okay, perfect. I love it. So that is going to be, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to be emailing you in a week saying it's done, it's implemented, we're
Sweet.
there. So that's one thing. And then the other thing I was going to ask you was, for the people that I'm interviewing, for my students, I'm interviewing, what exactly should I tell them I want them to have?
Yeah, so I would absolutely have them step through briefly. You don't need the entire story, but have them step through in 5 minutes or less how they got to where they are, right? Share that journey in we need to know who they are as individuals, right? So let's hear about the highs, let's hear about the lows, try to keep it fairly tight, try to keep it fairly condensed. But really get an understanding of who they are as a human being, not as a business person, but the actual person, right? In terms of their journey. So make sure you give them that opportunity. And maybe that's even 10 minutes, right? And again, just make sure that the audience is able to then develop a rapport with them and have an understanding of who they are. So that's 10 minutes. The next 10 minutes, you can focus on. So here's how I would structure it. So again, backstory, and again, get to where you are right now. The next 10 minutes, I would focus on what has been the single biggest change in your life. How has your business changed since you became a part of my world? And what's the name of your program?
It's community market leaders. So we call them
Community
community
market
market leaders.
Okay. So what has been the biggest impact and the biggest change in your life and your business since you've become a community market leader? Is that the right terminology?
Yep. And they go through the Mashore.
Okay.
It's called the Mashore Blueprint. That's the name of my course. And
Oh,
then they are,
okay.
yeah, the Mashore Blueprint. And then we teach them how to become community market leaders.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So ask them, what has been the biggest change that you've seen since you've implemented this blueprint and become a CML, a community market leader, right?
Yes.
And specifically, what does that look like in terms of your life? How has that actually impacted your life? How has your life changed? Obviously, you've generated more revenue, you're doing this, that, and the other, but step me through how your life has actually changed. What does a day for you look like now versus what did it look like before you started implementing this blueprint? Right. And that's where the emotion comes in. And it's not, it's the emotional versus the logical.
Yes.
And right. And so actually paint the picture for us of what your life is like now and what an actual day looks like for you now versus what those days may have looked like for you before. Right.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah. And then ultimately, that can go for 10, 15 minutes and it'll open up a nice dialogue between you. And I'm sure there'll be questions that you can extrapolate and just things will come to mind as you're going through it. And then a really great wrap up question is, thank you for sharing that. And let's talk a little bit about then you, right? And so you are here right now on this date in 2021, and you are looking at you, and again, use their name and make it very personal, who is sitting there in that chair, torn and struggling to make the decision to say yes to implementing this blueprint and coming in as a CML, and this, that, and the other. What would you say to the Krista Mashore of 2020, right? Of June 1st, 2020, as you were sitting there trying to make that decision and you were on the fence and you were nervous and then you ended up saying yes. What would you say to her now?
Great. Good. I love it. I can tell you've been through like NLP and
Never,
no,
never,
no, you
not
definitely got
once.
some high ticket selling stuff going on there. You can tell you've done that. Yeah.
A little bit of that in terms of expertise in that. Yes.
Yeah. And so yeah, we it was actually our first live event. So on Zoom. It was just on Zoom, just like this. Nothing special, nothing awesome. We just gave massive value and totally just literally helped people so much. And I did a really good job at seeding. So the seeding is a big part of it, and the testimonials, like you were just saying, we did the testimonials and that was so helpful. So I am going to be implementing this very quickly. My mind is already going. I'm going to make my team start watching this video so they know what to do. I don't even need to tell them what to do because I'm like, watch this podcast.
Just watch this video. Yeah.
Yeah, from here to here.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what we're doing. And so and then I'll text you and tell you when it's done. So I always end, first of all, is there anything that you would like to share or promote while you're on here? We always let everyone promote. I don't care about the leads. What would you like to promote? How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're a fan of podcasts and you want to go deeper into the world of podcasts, podcast culture, and the whole world of podcasting in general, we'd love for you to join us in that podcast magazine ride. And so podcastmagazine.com/free is a private backdoor link that you can use to grab a free lifetime subscription. And join us for that ride and let's have some fun over there.
So podcastmagazine.com/free. And is that it's free because the people that are in there, do they pay you to be in it? Is that why it's able to be free? It's not a physical copy. Is it a digital copy or it's actually a physical copy?
So that is digital,
okay.
But it's a huge publication. I mean, we're always around 140 pages per month, if not more.
Wow.
And so we do physical as well, and we're working on getting that on magazine stands and that sort of fun stuff. But it is also there's a limited run of each magazine, but the podcastmagazine.com/free is a lifetime digital subscription.
That's awesome. So podcastmagazine.com/free. And here's the deal. Here's what I'll tell you. Even if you don't think a podcast is for you, it doesn't hurt you. Information is very important, especially when you use it to implement. You might be somebody that is great for podcasting. It can change your business. It can change your life. And you won't know until you at least go there and get that link and try, right? So, okay.
Exactly.
So you have been I've really enjoyed myself, Steve. I love it. It was really, really fun. Thank you for that. And, I always ask everyone to leave with one thing, and this is what I ask them. If you could leave any kind of information or advice, whether it's business or personal, what would that one thing you would like to tell the audience?
I would just say very specifically that life is too short to do stuff that you just absolutely don't feel like it puts fire in your soul. And as a 30+ year entrepreneur, I've chased the commodity driven opportunities on many an occasion. And I will tell you, that when you're able to find that sweet spot of doing what you love and something that you're really good at, and something that people will pay you exceptionally well for, it really changes the trajectory of your life and then of course of your business. And what I know to be true is that you are the solution to someone else's problem, and there are people who are literally waiting and praying for you to show up in their lives right now. And so even if you feel like you have no other options and you're kind of stuck with what it is that you're doing, I would just simply ask you to challenge that thinking and just know that no matter how hard it might be to shift from what it is that you're currently doing now into something that perhaps feels like it puts more fire in your soul, it is a process, and we all grow and we all evolve as human beings. And sometimes the person that you were 10 years ago, is no longer the person, and hopefully isn't the person that you are in this particular moment. And just understand that, there is I just say that there is it's a lot harder in the short term to do the hard thing than it is in the long term. And so just trade long-term pain for short-term pain every day of the week.
Oh, that is so well said. You have to be willing to do the things right now that you might not want to do so that later on you don't have to do the things that everyone else has to do, right? So, a little bit of pain now will save you a lot of pain in the future. Steve, I really enjoyed this podcast. I thank you so much for your time. Such a great wealth of information. it was great. And when I say that, I don't say that lightly. I really thoroughly enjoyed myself. So thank you for being on. I know you're really busy and you're out there, with these great magazines and just really saving.
I got all the time in the world, Krista.
I know you said that to me. You said to me earlier, but thank you for being here.
You're
and
welcome.
Listen, everyone, go to podcastersmagazine.com/free. Check out Steve and what he's offered to you. Go download that. And remember, implementation is where it comes from. Knowledge is not power. Implementation is. And thank you so much for giving us a short minute of your time. I really appreciate you. Have a great day. Go and get fired up. Hey there, I have a brand new podcast called Fired Up with Krista Mashore, where I bring my high energy right to your ears. This podcast is available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So do me a favor, go subscribe and leave a review. All this information is free and I cannot wait to teach you everything I know. Thanks so much for watching my video. You can learn more about how to be a successful real estate professional by watching other videos that I have. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. And as always, make it a great home selling and buying day.